What's up, everybody? Hello, and welcome to Rolling with Ruel. My name's Ruel Gaviola. I will be your host tonight, and it's a different type of episode. Normally, I stream board game plays here, but I wanted to do a little reading. Besides board games, I love books. I love to read, and honestly, the last 2, maybe 3 years, I haven't read as much as I normally do, and it's just one of those things. You get busy with work, life happens, and unfortunately, books went to the wayside. But I'd like to start something new, and in honor of it being Friday, and with The Mandalorian just coming out, I figured, hey, it's Force Friday, right? It is Force Friday. We're going to read a book, and actually, I have a book. You can see the cover right there. I've got it there. Star Wars, The High Republic, A Test of Courage. This is a new book that's geared towards middle school age students, and it's basically the new part of Star Wars that's coming out early next year, actually next month already. It is available for pre-order now. I'm going to drop a link. I think I know how to do this now. Do I? Uh-oh, did it work? Star Wars books. The link show up? No. Okay, maybe it's Star Wars book. I don't know. I thought I did this last night. Let me see. Star Wars book. There it is. Hey. Yeah, you can pre-order Star Wars The High Republic, A Test of Courage now over there on the site. I want to shout out to Amanda Panda, our chat moderator as always. Slackfish is in the house too. Thank you, Slackfish. And I think Mrs. Gav is in the house too. It's a real chill stream, folks. No board games today. I'm just going to read excerpts, or actually an excerpt from the book here, Test of Courage. Probably like the prologue or whatever. They took off the embargo the other day, so you can, technically you can review it now, but as far as reading, I don't know if that's like that gray area of how much I can do, but I'm going to do at least the prologue of this. And also, depending on time, I would like to start Chapter 1 of Thrawn. This is one of my favorite characters that wasn't in the movies. He has been shown up in, I believe, Rebels, was it? Or was it the Clone Wars? I forget, in the animated series. Even though, as much as I love Star Wars, I really haven't watched much of the animated series. They just didn't jibe with me for whatever reason. I guess I'm so old school. I love the movies. But I also enjoy reading the books. And one of the books that I really enjoy was this one, Thrawn. One of the best bad guys in the entire series, in my opinion. And also, I want to let y'all know, please, I've watched The Mandalorian, the finale. Please, no spoilers. I should have made like a little thing here, no spoilers. Is there a way to, there's really no way to do like no spoilers. Or actually, how about this? Followers only chat. If I click on that, followers only chat. Does that work? So only people who follow can chat? Is that right, man? I don't know what I'm doing here. So maybe hopefully, I don't know if that'll help things, but yeah, no spoilers. Thank you, Amanda. So yeah, please, folks, I mean, again, I love the finale. I stayed up till midnight last night. The funny thing is, stayed up till midnight, started watching it, was so into it, and I totally fell asleep. So I woke up this morning, probably around 7:30, and immediately put it on and just watched it. Absolutely loved it. William Wilson in the house. Hi, thanks for joining us, William. We're just talking about Alex. Yes, thank you. He was a Chewbacca the whole time. Yeah, spoiler alert, he was Chewbacca. We're just talking about Mandalorian. Please don't spoil it, folks, for those of you who haven't watched it. I've watched it. So I watched it first at midnight last night, fell asleep, unfortunately. Woke up this morning. Before I jumped on the internet, I threw it on, finished it out, absolutely loved it. And then I go to the internet. The first thing I check on Twitter, sure enough, I'm like, it's a spoiler. I mean, there was a certain thing trending on Twitter. I'm like, it's totally spoiled. So yeah, folks, please, yes, thank you. No spoilers. Did someone just spoil? Oh, okay, the Bad Hammer. Amanda will be banning liberally tonight. So watch the last 2 episodes before work today. So mouth. Thank you, William Wolf. Yeah, what up, fam? Toro's in the house. Thank you, Victor. So yeah, just trying something a little different tonight. Amanda's going to be streaming, I believe, at 6 p.m., Amanda. Is that correct? So we'll hang out here. I'm going to read from Star Wars, the High Republic, A Test of Courage. This is the new part of Star Wars. It takes place I think 200 years before the prequels. So this is like before the Old Republic. I mean, this is the High Republic. It's a new world. They've got a bunch of books and graphic novels coming out, comics. This one is geared towards the middle school crowd. So, I mean, it doesn't have pictures. It's not like Diary of a Wimpy Kid style, but it's definitely, more towards middle school age. But I'm going to be reading part of that, at least the prologue. And then I will be reading the beginning of Thrawn. This has been out for years now. Now, actually, Thrawn, so I was first introduced, actually, everyone was first introduced to Thrawn in the, what series is that? Timothy Zahn had written a series, The Last Command, right? Or was The Last Command? I forget the name of the series, but it was basically a trilogy of books that took place after Return of the Jedi. And honestly, if I was Disney, I don't know why they didn't just go with that. But I mean, well, actually, I get it. Because Han, Leia, Luke, all the actors had aged, and the way that first trilogy of books happened, they were still relatively young. So I guess that's why they didn't. But they could have taken elements of it. I totally feel like they could have taken elements of it because that trilogy of books was fantastic. So when Disney bought Lucasfilm, they bought all the books as well. All that stuff that I loved became legends. So they're non-canon now, right? But again, Thrawn is too good of a character, so they went back, asked Timothy Zahn, hey, could you write a new book for Thrawn? And he's written, this was a trilogy, there's a new trilogy that's out. If you're into reading, and if you're into Star Wars, I mean, it's pretty much a no-brainer. It's awesome. But he has shown up, I know there's more diehard Star Wars fans here than I am. I believe Thrawn's shown up in Rebels, right? And I don't know if it was in Clone Wars, I'm not really sure. Bram Beard Gaming, thank you for joining us. If you're not fully up with the Star Wars universe, could you still follow The Mandalorian? Yes. I think The Mandalorian, the first season, is definitely something you could follow. I feel like they did a little more fan service in the second season, especially towards the end, but I mean, I loved it. I love the first... Okay, so here's the thing. I'm of two minds of this. I love the first season because they took elements of Star Wars, but they created this new world where you didn't have to know anything about Star Wars. You could just appreciate for what it was. And what it was, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni went back to the source material of Star Wars. So Star Wars, it was, Lucas was really influenced by samurai movies, by Kurosawa. And they not only did they go back to that, they actually went a little deeper, which I really appreciated. They went back to stuff like, if you read comics like Lone Wolf and Cub, that is basically the first season right there, okay? And I mean, if you haven't seen, sorry, spoilers, but I won't spoil any particular details, but it's very, very like samurai, sort of like, Man with No Name, like you got the Clint Eastwood later on, that type of thing. I would highly recommend it for that. It's got a very Western type feel. The second season is definitely more fan service, but I think you could do it. Bram Beard Game, thank you. Let's see. Alex says middle-aged middle schoolers are the worst, aren't they? Though. You just want to get the chat pause. What is this chat thing here? Oh, okay. Yeah, the Easter eggs. Thank you, Amanda. That's exactly it. The first Star Wars movie Alex ever saw was the first one of the latest trilogy. What was happening? What quality of the Star Wars universe do you find most captivating? Or is it at this point mostly nostalgia? That's a great point, Slackfish. The nostalgia's there, of course. I mean, I grew up on those first three movies. That was my jam. And that was part of the reason why the final trilogy of movies was so disappointing. Because what I wanted, and I think I'm different than other fans, like, I wanted them to move away from Han, Luke, and Leia, like, completely. And maybe like a little reference here or there in the new trilogy, but I mean, I get it. Disney, it's a business, and J.J. Abrams, for what it was, he did a fantastic job of capturing the feel in Force Awakens. That was the feel, the nostalgia of the first three movies, but at the same time, the plot was basically a recycle of the first movie, right, with some new elements. I mean, that was a bummer. I actually like the second one. Again, I know that's the most controversial one with fans because I liked it because they tried something different, and Rian Johnson completely flipped the script on a lot of things Star Wars, and I like that. I wanted to see this whole franchise move forward. Given that he screwed up big time with what's his name? Finn. Finn's character to me was one of the most captivating in the first or the episode 7. I mean, you have a stormtrooper that is going good. Like, I mean, that to me is that was the most captivating thing. I get it, raise the Jedi, spoiler alert, raise the Jedi and so forth. But Rian Johnson did something really cool where instead of having to stick with the Skywalker lineage, why not make it someone outside of that? And Disney freaked out. They listened to the fanboys and fangirls that were freaking out, and so they had JJ come in and like retcon everything, which I thought was the dumbest move ever. Again, for what it was, episode 9, I mean, it was a lot of feel-good stuff. I mean, I'm never going to not like Lando. I mean, you put Lando on the screen, I'm like, yeah, Lando. But, I mean, it is what it is. Well, I take them for what they are. I'm not one of the huge fanboys. I just enjoy the universe. So while the movies might not have gone in the directions that I wanted, they were still, yeah, agreed. And that's the thing. Like, I'm not going to hate on them. Give me just a second here. Collected Camels in the house. Hey, how's it going? Good to see you, friend. I'm enjoying my... Oh, by the way, stream stacks. I know this is a different type of stream, but let me know what you're eating or drinking. I've got my Earl Grey hot cup of tea with honey and lemon, as always. Garamond the Grouch is in the house. Hi, thanks for joining us. We're talking Star Wars. I was just ranting, or not ranting. I was just talking about, Star Wars and how much I love it. We're talking about the last trilogy here. And anyways, I thought JJ chickened out for that. And maybe it was a director from Disney. They didn't like what Rian Johnson did. They told JJ to get back into it. But it was just, like, when you're watching a movie and you're retconning as you're going, it's like, come on. I mean, I retcon in board games, that's fine. But not in a movie, please. Yeah. William Wilscott's Monster Energy. I cut out caffeine for a few months, but it always ropes me back in. Yeah. Monster's no joke. I was hooked on those for a little while. They need a stronger leadership. Thank you. Collected Camel, 100% need a stronger leadership for the sequel trilogy. And I feel like if they would have just given the keys of the franchise to Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, boom, everything would have been okay. But you know what? I was just texting my brothers this. We had this huge, not huge, but we had this discussion over text about how if I'm okay with The Mandalorian, because it more than made up, well, I don't say more, but it made up for a lot of the mistakes that were made in the final trilogy. Alex says, most of my Star Wars knowledge just comes through osmosis, but I have to say the Star Wars land at Disneyland is pretty cool. I need to go to Star Wars land. I was too late to the boat, obviously, now that the pandemic's ruined everything. Slivers, hi, thanks for joining us. And Sir Bear, there's Slivers. What it do, baby boo. That's always my favorite. I hated Last Jedi, but if Rian Johnson wrote the entire trilogy, it would have been a lot tighter. Yeah, and that's the thing. I understand. A lot of people didn't like it. I liked it because, again, I saw what Rian Johnson was doing. And it was flying in the face of a lot of fan stuff, and I was okay with it. I'm like, yo, that's what I wanted through the whole thing. Now, I didn't want to, like, just, spit and trash everything that happened before, but I wanted Disney to push the story forward, push the narrative forward. Let's get away from the Skywalkers, which is, they're great now. They had 6 movies. Let's move on, but it is what it is, and, you love it or hate it. I mean, again, it's Star Wars. I was talking to my brother. So one of his children, my nephew, loved the sequel trilogy, and I will never be one of the. Well, I won't be one of those. I'm not gonna say I will never, because maybe in my youth I might have been, but I won't be a gatekeeper. I've learned that as long as you get in the whole thing, like William Wolf was saying, you enjoy it for what it is, and I'm happy that my nephew loves those movies. And I took my youngest niece, to the final movie, Rise of Skywalker, which I liked. I didn't love, whatever, but on second and third viewings, again, you're going to watch, Star Wars fans, you just watch movies countless times. They're much worse. It was much worse than I remembered. But my niece loved it. And I love the fact that she loved it. We got to hang out. That was like an uncle-niece bonding moment. I love that. She got to see the 501st Legion. There's a bunch of people, in cosplay there. Got to see the droids, from the, I forget what they're called, but the club that does all the R2-D2s. and just her eyes lit up, and then we watched the movie and she was so into it, and I'm like, that's the next generation, and I'm okay with that. Whether you like the prequels, no comment, you like the OG original trilogy, you like the sequels, you like the Rebels, Clone Wars, whatever. It's such a wonderful universe again, and whatever it takes to get you into it, I'm okay with it. Let me check the comments here. Cerberus, the movies were fine, I guess. I was saddened by the extended universe being canned. They had some awesome stories. Agreed. And we just, Sir Beresworth, what was the first trilogy? So I'm going to read some of Thrawn tonight. What was the original? I know the last book was it Last Command? Maybe you know this. There was 3 books, and I forget the names. They're in the shelf in the other room, but I don't want to drink there. Alex drank blue milk. I heard it was actually pretty good. And it wasn't like, was it milk, or was it like some kind of like fruity drink or something? Game Jedi 84, thank you for joining us. Yeah, Eclectic Camel agreed again. Finn got ripped off. I love the character Finn. It frustrates me because they basically kneecapped him in the second movie, and they tried to bring him back in the third. And by then it was like it just seemed so forced, forced, right? Again, and the character Rose, she was great, and you just dumped her in the third movie. Like she didn't do a thing. She just like sat in the base, like so many bad decisions. Okay. Haha, say what you want about the new trilogy. At least we can all agree about how bad the prequels are. Yeah, thank you. And that's the thing, like, it's so hard for me because I have friends. Now, obviously, they're younger than me, my board gaming friends, and they grew up on the prequels. And they'll tell me how Star Wars doesn't hold up. And I don't like, I can't. I can't. And I get it. I tell them it's a generational thing, I feel, at this point. Like you watch a movie from 1977, compare it to something that was 1999 for the prequels or whatever year it was. The technology was amazing, even though I didn't like the CGI in the prequels. I thought it was just not, it wasn't where it is now. But I understand the pacing of 1977 movie. Again, you're coming from that era of like just coming out of Godfather and Bonnie and Clyde, those late 60s, early 70s movies, and you're making your way into the blockbuster era, Jaws and then Star Wars. I mean, you still have that overlap of the pacing's a lot slower. It's not a bunch of quick jumps, quick edits. And it's crazy because you watch Star Wars, your lead character, Luke Skywalker, doesn't show up till like a half hour into the movie. So I like that feeling of world building, right? You have C-3PO, you have the Rebels, you have Darth Vader, then, Princess Leia, then all of a sudden they crash, the droids go to the planet, and lo and behold, here's Luke, and then the movie kicks into gear, So I think it's interesting, now that I'm talking my way through this, the pacing is a lot different in those old movies, and, maybe that's a generational thing. I don't know. Are you talking about the Thrawn? Yeah, Game Jedi, the Thrawn trilogy. So not this one, but the original one that was no longer canon. It's now under the Legends title. It was like the third book was The Last Command. Heir to the Empire. I just came Heir to the Empire. That was the original trilogy where Thrawn was introduced. This series is now canon, and this just focuses on Thrawn. And what I love about it, we're going to read it, by the way, folks. We're going to read chapter 1 of this, hopefully, tonight. I'm just blabbing on here. Star Wars the High Republic, which you see there. So it's got this really cool mix of, like, politics and, the Empire and this guy, Thrawn. We'll get into it. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite characters of Star Wars. William, I'm just going to hang out here. We'll just chat. Thoughts on the Patty Jenkins Rogue Squadron movie news? Personally, I do enjoy the movies, shows, games that are in the universe, but less Jedi, folks. Agreed. I was fired up to see that, too. And I love the little trailer that they did for it, how her ties into how her dad was in the military and so forth. I think that's what I really liked about The Mandalorian. Bram Beard had asked about it earlier, how if someone that wasn't hardcore Star Wars, would they enjoy The Mandalorian? And I said the first season, yes, because I feel like that's just a Western, a sci-fi Western. Second season has a little more fan service. So I think definitely the first season, but by the time you get through the first season, I think you still enjoy the second because the story arc continues there. But yeah, I do enjoy, just like Rogue One, I enjoy that whole thing where, yeah, the Force, is there, but it's not Jedi centric. So there's definitely something that I do enjoy about that as well, William Wolf. Yeah, Rogue One as a heist movie was great. Yeah, and hey, here's another one, Solo. I think Solo was just fine. That one got ripped. I loved it. I thought it was a fun. It felt like a popcorn movie. Hey, speaking of popcorn, what are y'all eating and drinking for your stream snacks? It was a popcorn movie, right? You go and it's just, you enjoy it for what it is. It's entertaining. It had some fan service and it was fun. It wasn't deep. There wasn't anything Force-ish about it. So yeah, I had a good time. And I watched it a couple of times. I liked it. Now, I feel like, I don't know, Disney, I remember they I don't know if they rushed it, because instead of doing the traditional Christmas release, they bumped it up to May, which I thought was a mistake. It was like almost too much Star Wars. They had the one in Last Jedi, and then they bumped up Solo to May. And I think it was they panicked because people were divided on Last Jedi, so... Whatever, yeah, Solo missed a lot of opportunities. Otherwise, it's okay. Yeah, there was opportunities missed. I don't deny that, for sure. They fired the directors, right? And then brought Ron Howard in to, fix the mess. But for what it is, I think it's a perfectly fine, just, popcorn movie. Enjoying it. So, Panda had sushi and a cupcake. That's a great combo. I love it. Folks, I'm going to read... Just give me a second here. Get my voice ready here. What I'm reading tonight, I'm going to read the prologue, maybe chapter 1, we'll see, of Star Wars The High Republic, A Test of Courage. This is now on pre-order. Hey, I'm going to do that little trick where I go Star Wars book, and boom! You can pre-order it now. I want to thank my friends over there at Disney Books for sending this over, this advanced copy. It is on pre-order. It comes out, I believe, January 6th. Don't quote me on that. Just click on the link and make sure. Click on the link and... check out the info there. Want to thank Slackfish for the hydrate. Thank you. And speaking of the Force, let's use the Force to... All right. So I'm going to move my mic here. I'm going to adjust. So I've got this here. There's the cover of the book here. Yeah, Alex, please put on your jammies. And if you have a glass of warm milk, enjoy. Just going to read. And y'all... Thanks again for hanging out. Much appreciated. We are reading Star Wars The High Republic, A Test of Courage by Justina Ireland. She's written some other Star Wars books. Can't think of them off the top of my head, but hang out and enjoy, friends. All right, so that looks okay. All right. Star Wars The High Republic. The galaxy is at peace, ruled by the glorious Republic and protected by the noble and wise Jedi Knights. As a symbol of all that is good, the Republic is about to launch Starlight Beacon into the far reaches of the Outer Rim. This new space station will serve as a ray of hope for all to see. But just as a magnificent renaissance spreads throughout the Republic, so does a frightening new adversary. Now, the Guardians of Peace and Justice must face a threat to themselves, the galaxy, and the Force itself. There's the timeline, and y'all know, like, in my mind, I've got the 20th Century Fox, little theme, and then the John Williams theme right there. Thank you, Slackfish, Lando's Luck, Sparkly Resistance. Nice. Book releases are always on a Tuesday. Oh, interesting. Okay. All right, here we go with the prologue. Clineth Da... I'm going to move my mic. Let's put this over here. Okay. All right. Clineth Da carefully landed the stolen cargo hauler on the edge of the dock while her partner, Gwishy, searched the nearby compartments for the ship manifest. Taking things from the weak was a great way to live, but occasionally it came with its share of hassles, like when dopey officials made life difficult. Normally, Clineth didn't worry about such things. As a human woman in a galaxy full of much stronger species, she could handle herself, but they were supposed to be keeping a low profile, and that meant blasting people was unfortunately out of the question. Are they going to ask for any official documents? Clyneth asked, pushing her shock of magenta hair out of her face. She caught a reflection in the gleam of a side panel. She looked nothing like she was used to. She had removed all her piercings and covered her strike markings, the tattoos that told other Nihil about her crew and her career as a pirate, with the coveralls she wore, but she was not about to change her hair. She was still Nihil. I guess that's how you say it, Nihil. Is it Nihil or Nihil? I'll go with Nihil. She was still Nihil, even when she was pretending to be something else. After a moment, she reached into her pocket and threaded her silver wire around and through the holes in her bottom lip. That was a little better, less odd. This far out, they shouldn't care, the male Aquilish said, his weak command of basic making the words sound especially snarly. The Republic doesn't regulate this part of the galaxy, yet. Like Clyneth, Gwishy wore simple coveralls, his strike markings covered, all but the nasty scar on the right side of his face where he'd taken a blaster bolt to one of his eyes. That still gleamed blue, a jagged line bisecting his bottom right eye and terminating at his tusk. The ink had been added to the still healing wound to show that even though he'd taken a grievous injury, the person responsible was no longer around to repeat the mistake. The Nihil repaid all their wrongs threefold. Clyneth grabbed both her blaster and her knives, because in stealthy situations, knives were sometimes the better option, placing them in her toolbox. Gwishy grabbed his own blaster, plus his face mask, and a canister of Ovax gas, which he placed into his toolkit along with the rest of his gear. The gas would be necessary to incapacitate the mechanics on board the Steady Wing, a luxury liner they had followed to Port Hailcap, a remote outpost on the edge of the Dalan sector. The plan was simple. They had been told to board the Steady Wing and sabotage it so that no one on board was left alive. The ship was scheduled to pick up someone important to the Republic on Hailcap, and the Nihil needed to let the galaxy know that they were not welcome in this part of the galaxy. Not now, not ever. The Republic was bad for business. Before disembarking, Clyneth went back and grabbed one more blaster, small enough to tuck into the top of her boot. Sometimes things went wrong and people got hurt. That was Clyneth's favorite part. There was a short walk through thick jungle, the marblewood trees large and covered in blue moss, before the busy docking station came into view. Clyneth had purposely chosen an out-of-the-way landing space to allow her and Gwishy to enter undetected. The last thing they needed was too many people asking questions. Manifest or not, less attention was better. "That's it right there," Gwishy said, pointing to an enormous ship that took up most of the landing yard. The thing was easily 10 times the size of the cargo hauler they'd stolen, and Clyneth felt a tendril of fear sneak through her as she considered that. "How in the 7 Ganetian moons are we supposed to destroy that?" she asked. Gwishy sighed. "From the inside. You're Nihil. Act like it and stop worrying." "I'm not," Clyneth said. She had no problem with the mission. It just felt more serious than her previous jobs, like she'd been promoted. And if this job was successful, she surely would be. She'd rise within the Nihil, maybe even report directly to Kassav himself. Clyneth and Gwishy were close to the ship, and she grinned with anticipation. Everyone would be talking about the destruction of the Steady Wing. "I'm excited. This is going to be monumental. I'm just sad we don't get to smash anything." Gwishy watched her with unblinking eyes. "Come on, let's go." The port was teeming with people from many different systems. As the last stop before some of the most dangerous uncharted regions in the galaxy, Port Hailcap, like other ports on the edge of what was considered civilized space, was a place for ships to refuel and for people to catch up on news from back home and relax before spending time in a cramped ship. A large landing area stocked with supplies and surrounded by a ring of shops, it was just like most of the outposts Clyneth had been to, with the exception of the giant marblewood trees that were visible in the distance, stabbing the violet sky with their green crowns. Humans, Trandoshians, Pantarans, and more weaved among one another in a throng, moving their way to the various shops lining the outside edge of the landing zone. Clyneth saw a sign advertising gambling down a far hall, and her hands itched. It had been a while since she'd had a chance to play Rikestra, a popular dice game, but she had more pressing issues than a game of chance. Clineth and Gwishy made their way up the boarding ramp to the steady wing. The Republic guards standing at the top of the walkway were laughing over something and paid the pirates no mind as they walked past. They blended in perfectly with the other mechanics walking on and off the luxury liner. Once they were in the ship proper, Gwishy slapped Quineth on the back. "Too easy," he said, and he was right. They walked through the hallway, and Clineth felt a familiar anger rising deep in her middle. It was a grand ship with beautiful golden floors and silver walls that featured a flower-patterned screen that shifted its design every few seconds. She tried to imagine what it would be like to stay on such a fine ship. She couldn't, and that made her angrier than anything else. She couldn't wait to destroy the steady wing and watch its beauty fracture in the emptiness of space. Clineth followed Gwishy, stopping when he pointed to a plaque on the side of the hallway. The ship was so large that there were maps every few meters to show how to get to different areas. "That's where I'm headed," Gwishy pointed to a blank spot before patting the heavy toolkit he carried. "I'm going to leave everyone a few surprises. You go and make sure the escape pods aren't any good either. The last thing we want is survivors. This should be a disaster that will make the Legacy run look like a day at the fair." Before Clineth could respond, Gwishy turned and started off down the hallway, leaving her to figure out where the escape pods were held. After a few moments puzzling out the map, she wasn't the best reader and the map seemed purposely confusing. She figured out they were on another deck. When Clineth arrived where the escape pods were, she discovered she wasn't the only one there. A maintenance droid buzzed around the bay. At her entrance, the droid stopped. "Are you here to sign off on the pods?" the droid asked. It was a little box of a thing with several arms sticking out at every angle. "Yes, but we need to upgrade them. Take out the comms and nav systems." The droid rolled forward and back as it processed her command. "I have no such instructions. I must update my feeds to receive new instructions." There was a large, heavy hydrospanner on the wall, and Clineth lifted it in her hands, testing the weight. "Oh, I have your updates right here." She slammed the heavy tool into the top of the droid again and again until the droid was little more than random metal parts. Clineth smiled at the destruction all around her. She'd gotten to smash something after all. Okay, so that's the prologue to Star Wars: The High Republic: A Test of Courage. Nice little entry point there into the story. I'm looking forward to continuing. Got your updates right here, right? Thank you, Buccaneers, for joining us. I like that. So again, this is geared towards the middle school crowd, but I'm already hooked, folks. I'm all into it. Okay. So, so what we're doing, folks, I've just given you a quick preview of a little sneak peek of Star Wars: The High Republic. I am also going to be reading, let me see if I can do this right. Where is... That's gone. Hello! We are also going to be reading Chapter 1 of Star Wars Thrawn by Timothy Zahn. Ooh, snap, more like Sass Wars, am I right? Yeah, and I think that plays well into the the middle-aged crowd, right? A little sassiness there. So, thank you again for joining us, friends. It is Force Friday. This is Ruel Reads. My name is Ruel Gaviola. Normally, I stream board games here on Twitch, but wanted to do something a little different. Thanks to my friends over there at Disney Books for sending over the Star Wars: The High Republic, which is now available for pre-order. I will put a link here because I'm learning how to do all the things here thanks to Amanda's help. Stockfish says, "How is it that for the past 90 streams, Ruel uses a force wipe, and now that he's reading stars, we get nothing?" You know, that's how it is. Just for Slackfish. Whoop! There it is, my friend. Another one. Yeah. All right. So let's read Star Wars Thrawn by Timothy Zahn. And this is I love the Star Wars books where, they all start like this, right? A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And that just immediately, I think of that dark screen in the theater. It's quiet. There's no sound. Then all of a sudden you get that boom, the blare of, I'm not going to hum it. I don't want to get any copyright strikes, but y'all can hum the Star Wars theme, the fanfare and everything. Oh, so good. So this is Thrawn. We're going to get through chapter 1, see how my voice holds up. And Then we're going to raid Amanda. Amanda's going to be streaming at 6 o'clock. She's, let us know what you're playing, Amanda. I don't know if I forgot what it was. But anyways, yeah. January 5th, the Star Wars: A High Republic comes out. I want to thank Slackfish for that date. And, yeah. We are going to be reading Thrawn, friends. Chapter 1. I'm going to move my tea here. I'm going to get a little comfortable for this one. Let me see how many pages this is. So, Chapter 1... I don't know if we're going to get through all of Chapter 1. So I would like to raid Amanda at 6 when she goes live. So we'll get through Chapter 1 and we'll raid Amanda. Thank you again for hanging out, folks. Much appreciated. Okay. Chapter 1 of Thrawn. All beings begin their lives with hopes and aspirations. Among these aspirations is the desire that there will be a straight path to those goals. It is seldom so, perhaps never. Sometimes the turns are of one's own volition, as one's thoughts and goals change over time. But more often the turns are mandated by outside forces. It was so with me. The memory is vivid, unsullied by age. The 5 admirals rising from their chairs as I am escorted into the chamber. The decision of the ascendancy has been made, and they are here to deliver it. None of them is happy with the decisions. I can read that in their faces. But they are officers and servants of the Chiss, and they will carry out their orders. Protocol alone demands that. And folks, let me know if I'm pronouncing. It's been a while since I've read this. Let me know if I've got the pronunciations correct. It is Chiss, or is it the CH like a K? Kiss. I forget. Again, I didn't watch Rebels and all that. So again, if you are in chat, let me know pronunciation-wise. Thank you. Okay, protocol demands that. The word is as I expected. Exile. The planet has already been chosen. The aristocrat will assemble the equipment necessary to ensure that solitude does not quickly become death from predators or the elements. I am led away. Once again, my path has turned. Where it will lead, I cannot say. The hut was small, apparently made from local materials, situated in the center of the forest clearing. Surrounding it were 8 tall rectangular boxes with 2 distinct sets of markings. So this, Captain Voss Park said, is what you brought me all the way down from the Strikefast to see? Yes, Captain, I did, Colonel Mosh Bear said sourly. Turns out we may have a problem. You see those markings? Of course, Park said. Bogolan script, isn't it? It's Bogolan script, but not Bogolanese, Barris said. The translator droids can't make top or bottom of it, and the 2 power generators behind the hut don't match any Imperial designs. Standing to the side, watching his captain and the Strikefast senior troop commander discuss the mysterious sediment they've found on this unnamed world, Cadet First Class Eli Vanto tried to make himself as inconspicuous as possible, and wondered what he was doing here. None of the other 10 Myanmar Academy cadets had been ordered down with Park's shuttle. Eli didn't have any particular expertise in unknown artifacts or tech. It wasn't like he needed planet-side experience anyway. He was on track to become a supply officer. There was no reason he could think of why he'd been singled out this way. Cadet Vanto, Barris said. Eli wrenched his mind back from his musings. Yes, Colonel? The droid said there are half a dozen trade languages out here that use Bogolan script. You are an expert on obscure local languages, he gestured to the crates. So? Eli moved closer, wincing a little. So that was why he was here. He'd grown up on the planet Lacera in this part of wild space, pressed up against the so-called unknown regions. His family's shipping company worked mostly in and around their homeworld, but they did enough business in the unknown regions that Eli had picked up proficiency in several of the local trade languages. But that hardly made him an expert. It could be a variant of Sai-Bisti, sir, he said. Some of the words are familiar, and the syntax is right, but it's not standard. Barris snorted. Hard to imagine a standard for a language so obscure that even the droids don't bother with it. Eli held his tongue. Sai-Bisti was actually a perfectly well-defined and eminently useful language. It was the people who still used it, and the worlds they lived on that were obscure. You said you can read some of it, Park prompted? Yes, sir, Eli said. It seems to be mostly tracking information and the name of the company that supplied the contents. Also a short bit proclaiming the grandeur and honor of that company. What, they engrave promotionals right on their shipping crates? Barris asked. Yes, sir. A lot of small businesses out here do that. You don't recognize the business name, I assume? Park asked. No, sir. I believe it's Red Bipe or Redder Bipe, possibly the owner's name. Park nodded. We can see if there's anything on our records. What about the second script? Sorry, sir. I've never seen it before. Terrific, Barris muttered. So whether it's a smuggler base or the survival camp from a shipwreck, it still comes under UA protocols. Eli winced. The unknown alien protocols were a relic from the glory days of the Republic, when a new species was being discovered every other week and the Senate wanted every one of them contacted and studied. The modern Imperial Navy had no business handling such chores, and even less interest in doing so, and the High Command had repeatedly said no. Rumor at the Academy was that Emperor Palpatine was working to revoke the protocols. For the moment, they were still standard orders, and far too many of the senators supported them. Which was going to put a crimp in the strike-fast schedule. The ship's officers and crew weren't exactly thrilled at having a bunch of cadets underfoot anyway, and Eli could tell they were looking forward to dumping them back on Myanmar. This was going to delay that happy send-off for at least a couple of days. Agreed, Park said. Very well. Have your troops make themselves comfortable while I have a tech analyst team sent down. Keep an eye out in case your smuggler or castaway comes back. Yes, sir, Barris's comlink signaled, and the colonel pulled it out. Barris, this is Major Wyan at the crash site, Colonel, a taut voice came. Sorry to interrupt, but I think you'd better come see this. Eli frowned. He hadn't heard anything about a crash. There was a crash, sir? He asked. One of the V-Wing starfighters went down, Park said, nodding across the clearing where distant lights could be seen flickering through the tendrils of evening mist wafting through the trees. Eli nodded silently. He'd noticed the lights earlier, but had assumed they were just more of Barris's survey team. I'll be right there, Barris said. With your permission, Captain? Go ahead, Park said. I'll stay here with Cadet Vanto and see what else he can tell us about the writing on these crates. Eli had gone through nearly all of it when Barris and a black uniformed, black-helmeted Navy trooper returned carrying a V-Wings pilot's flight suit. A flight suit stuffed with grass, leaves, and strange-smelling red berries. What is this? Park demanded. This is what we found near the crash site, Barris said grimly as they set the suit on the ground in front of the captain. The body's gone, nothing left but this. This, he waved his hand. Scarecrow, Eli murmured. Park sent him a sharp look. Is this something you'd people do out here? Some farmers still use scarecrows to keep birds out of their crops, Eli said, his face warming. You people. Park was letting his core world prejudices peek out. They're also used in festivals and parades. Park looked back at Barris. Have you looked for the pilot? Not yet, sir, Barris said. I've ordered a troop perimeter set up around the settlement, and I'm having another platoon of troopers sent down. Good, Park said. Once they're here, expand your search and find the body. Yes, sir, Barris said. We might want to wait until morning, though. Your soldiers afraid of the dark? No, sir, Barris said stiffly. It's just that we also found this V-Wing survival pack. The blaster, spare power packs, and concussion grenades are missing. Park's lip twitched. Primitives with weapons. Wonderful. Very well. Search until dark, then resume in the morning. We can keep the search going all night if you'd like. Park shook his head. Hard enough to navigate unfamiliar terrain in the dark. I've seen too many night patrols get disoriented and start jumping or shooting at one another, and the mist you've got rolling in will just make it worse. We'll keep aerial surveillance going, but your troopers would be better to stay in camp until daybreak. Yes, sir, Barris said. Maybe whoever took the grenades will be considerate enough to blow themselves to pieces before they get to us. Perhaps. Park looked up at the darkening sky. I'll head back to the ship and arrange for a wider starfighter cover pattern. He lowered his gaze to Eli. Cadet, you'll stay here with Colonel Barris's team. Study the settlement and see if there are any more inscriptions. The sooner we can learn everything we can, the sooner we can leave. All right, quick tea break. Amanda's playing King Domino. Oh, yeah, Amanda is joined by Stella from Meeple University. Is that correct, Amanda? It's great. Sir Bearsworth, I vote that we get to Ruel to be contributor reading Ruel about. Thank you, Sir Bearsworth. You are my favorite, my friend. Cheers to you. Okay. Silver Medal Tavern's in the house. Hi, friend. Thanks for joining us. Reading a little Star Wars tonight in honor of Force Friday. Oh, you know what? I totally forgot. Oh, Jarby Gaming. Thank you for redeeming these stretch points, folks. Oh, much appreciated. Yeah, cool book. I totally forgot. I had my Baby Yoda knit cap here. I'll throw this on for the rest of the read here. Unless it gets too hot. It's a little warm in the studio tonight. But Baby Yoda knit cap. Thanks to my cousin for sending it out. Much appreciated. Knitted it a few months ago for me. Okay. Let's continue, folks. Thank you, Silver Medal Tavern, by the way, for listening. Appreciate it. We're in Chapter 1 of Star Wars Thrawn. It was nearly full dark by the time Barris's men finished creating their perimeter. The tech team had set up an examination table protected by a transparent weather canopy where they could study the grass and leaves they'd taken from the flight suit. They'd started their work when Major Wyan and his search party returned empty-handed from the forest. So they hadn't found the V-Wing's pilot body. Still, there were no indications of wounded or dead among his team either. With grenades and a blaster in the hands of primitives or a castaway of unknown species, Eli was privately willing to call it a draw. So that's what was in the flight suit, Wyan asked, walking over to where Barris was watching as the two techs spread out the scarecrow's stuffing. Yes, Barris said. The breeze momentarily shifted direction, and Eli caught a whiff of an odd aroma he'd smelled earlier. Probably from some of the berries the techs had crushed for analysis. So far it seems to be just local flora. Maybe the whole thing was some kind of religious ritual. And without warning there came the flash and thundercrack of an explosion from behind them. "Cover!" Barris shouted, spinning around, dropping to one knee as he hauled out his blaster. Eli hit the ground behind one of the big crates, then peeked cautiously around its side. Halfway to the edge of the clearing, a patch of grass was smoldering with the afterburn of the explosion. Beyond it, Navy troopers were running toward the closest part of the sentry line, blasters drawn and ready. Someone flicked on a searchlight, the brilliant glow sweeping across the forest and lighting up the mist flowing between the trees. Eli followed the spot of the light with his eyes, searching for a glimpse of the enemy who was attacking them. And instead watched as Barris was slammed flat on his face by a second explosion. "Colonel!" Wyatt shouted. "I'm all right," Barris shouted back. Behind him, the collection of grasses and leaves on the examination table was burning brilliantly, the table itself canted half over by the blast. On the table's far side, the two techs were shakily getting back up onto hands and knees. Swearing under his breath, Eli stayed flat on the ground, bracing himself for the inevitable third explosion. The inevitable failed to happen. One by one, he heard the perimeter troops check in with Barris, confirming the defenses were secure. Wyan conducted a search of the first 20 meters out of the forest outside of the clearing and reported that the unknown attackers had fled. Though considering that no one had apparently seen anything in the first place, the fact that they didn't know now didn't strike Eli as being very comforting. The explosions themselves were equally mysterious. They definitely weren't concussion grenades, Wyan said. Not nearly powerful enough. Our best guess is that they were blaster power packs with the sturm dials pulled out. That doesn't sound like something savages would be able to figure out, Eli said, frowning. Very well deduced, Cadet, Wyan said sarcastically. Colonel Barris thinks our castaways come back. He gestured to the hut. I didn't call you over here to get your opinion on our tactical situation. I called you to see if you'd found anything in the hut or storage crates that would give us hint as to his appearances or tech level. Not really, sir, Eli said. From the shape of the bed and design of the eating utensils, he's probably humanoid, but there's really nothing more. What about the power generators? He has to have some tech skill to work those, doesn't he? Not necessarily, Eli said. They're mostly automated. Wyan scowled into the night. So why the attack? And why such a puny one? If he's smart enough to figure out sturm dials, he's smart enough to pop a grenade. Maybe he's trying to scare us away without wrecking his home, Eli offered. Wyan gave him a sharp look, perhaps preparing to repeat his warning not to offer military advice. But he didn't. Perhaps he was remembering that Eli had experience in this unimportant part of the galaxy. And how did he get into the camp? There was a small scratching sound near Eli's feet. He started, but it was only some small ground creature scurrying through the grass. Maybe he lobbed the blaster packs in with a catapult or something. Wyan raised his eyebrows. Through the weather canopy? Eli winced as he looked over the still smoldering mass of burned grass. No, of course not. A lobbed-in explosive would have bounced off the canopy and never made it to the table. Stupid of him. I guess not, sir. You guess not, sir, Wyatt echoed sarcastically. Thank you, cadet. Get back to your work, and this time find us something useful. Yes, sir. Major, Barris said, striding across the clearing. Sir, Wyatt said, turning to face him. Captain's setting some V-wings for a grid search, the colonel said. The colonel told him. In the meantime, take a squad and set up some floodlights at the perimeter. I want the forest rim lit up like the inside of a spark module. Then fine mesh the hemisphere sensor screen. I don't want any more explosives getting through without us at least knowing where they're coming from. Wyann's reply was lost in a sudden roar as a pair of V-wings shot past at treetop level. What? Barris asked. I was reminding the colonel that there are a lot of birds flying around, Wyan repeated. Small ground animals, too. I nearly twisted my ankle stepping on one a minute ago. If we fine mesh the screen too fat, we'll have alarms triggering all night. Fine, forget the fine meshing, Barris said. Just get those lights. And suddenly, directly ahead, the nearest trees were silhouetted by a fireball erupting somewhere in the distance. What the... V-wing crash, Barris snapped, keying his comlink. Rescue team to the transport, now! Okay, another quick break. Hate Baby Panda. Should we still call him Baby Yoda, though? He has a name. Grogu, right? Grogu? Yeah, not really a fan of it. Griffdog, hi everyone, just getting in the chat, was over watching a live playthrough on YouTube. Hey Griffdog, thanks for joining us. Yeah, just reading a book right now. We're reading Star Wars Thrawn. Thank you for the hydrate. Gonna hang out and gonna get through this chapter. I think we'll finish. I don't think we'll finish it right at 6, but we will raid Amanda. Amanda's starting at 6, and we'll raid her afterwards because she's playing King Domino with Stella. Let's continue, shall we? Metal Silvermount. Now I want to play Imperial Assault Row. Ooh. Silver Metal Tavern. That is a good idea, I think. Yeah, maybe we could do that. I haven't played on Steam, but let's message each other. Message or whisper me, please. I'm gonna continue. Okay. At least this time the pilot's body hadn't been taken. Unfortunately, his blaster power packs and concussion grenades had, and the rumors and speculations were flying. Eli was out of most of the quiet discussions, working as he was in the castaway's hut. But every now and then, one of the techs would come in to collect something to analyze. They were usually eager to talk, to lay out their own thoughts and pretend they didn't have any fears. But they did. So did Eli. The floodlights blazing away at the edge of the forest had succeeded in warding off further attacks, but the masses of insects and nightbirds the glow attracted were almost unnerving. The V-wings flying overhead gave an illusion of safety and protection. But Eli tensed every time one went past, wondering if that would be the next one to be knocked out of the sky. And on top of it all was the why. Why was this happening? Was someone trying to scare the Imperials away? Or was the attacker trying to pin them down or run them in circles? Or, worst of all, was this some kind of macabre game? And was the grass-filled flight suit a feint, a distraction, or just some native ritual? That one at least received an answer. About midnight, after a calm consultation with Captain Park, Barris ordered the stuffed flight suit to be thoroughly examined. Only then did they discover that the helmet's comlink was missing. Clever little snakes, Barris growled as Eli edged closer to the conversation. What about that one? The comlink's still here, Wyan confirmed, peering into the second down pilot's helmet. They must not have had time to remove it. Or just didn't bother, Barris said. Because they could already eavesdrop on our communications? Exactly, Barris said. Well, that ends now. Call the strike fast and have them shut down that circuit. Yes, sir. Barris shifted his glare to Eli. You have something to add, Cadet, or were you just doing a little eavesdropping of your own? Yes, sir, Eli said. I mean, no, sir. I wanted to report that I found a couple of coins between the inner and outer shells of one of the crates that date to the beginning of the Clone Wars. So it looks like our castaway's been here at least that long. Hold on, Barris said. Coins? A lot of shippers out here put freshly minted low-value coins in with their crates, Eli explained. It's a good luck thing, as well as a way to make sure the dates on the manifest don't get altered. They take them out and put in new ones whenever that crate comes back to them. So assuming the castaway got the crates new, it means he's been here for several years, Wine said thoughtfully. Might explain some of his behavior. Not to me it doesn't, Barris said. If all he wants is a ride back to civilization, why doesn't he just walk out of the forest and ask? Maybe he was on the run when he crashed, Wine suggested. Or maybe he came voluntarily and just wants us to go away. In which case he's going to be sadly disappointed, Barris said. All right, Cadet, keep looking. Do you want me to assign tech to help? There's not much room, sir. We'd probably just get in each other's way. Then get back to it, Barris said. Sooner or later, our friend's going to push his luck too far. When he does, we'll be ready. All right. Amanda's getting ready to stream. Beyond Dead 13, thank you for joining us. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see you on the stream, Amanda. Have a great stream. We'll see you in a few. I'm going to finish up this chapter and we'll join you. Thank you. So, yeah, we're almost done through chapter 1, folks. Got a few more pages here. Let's see. Chapter 1 goes to, I think, page 19. Yeah. So we're halfway through. So thank you again for joining me. Feel free to join Amanda's stream. But otherwise, we're going to continue with Star Wars Thrawn. Is this book new? Silver Meadow Tavern? No, this book has been out a few years. Thrawn, it's a trilogy that came out, I want to say a few years, at least 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. And then there's actually a new trilogy as well, Thrawn Ascendancy, that is, I think just started this September or August. I forget. That's where tabs were made for. Thank you, Slackfish. Love your comment there. Okay, back to the book, back to Thrawn. So hopefully you're all enjoying this so far. They had 5 casualties among the Sentry Perimeter Navy troops that night. 3 of them were incapacitated at the hand of the unseen enemy, their chests or helmets slammed by concussion grenades. No one saw anything, either before the attacks or afterward. The other 2 casualties were accidentally shot by their own nervous comrades, who mistook them for intruders in the misty darkness. By the time dawn began to lighten the sky, Barris was back on the comlink to the strikefast. By the time the sun finished burning off the nighttime mist, 2 squads of stormtroopers had arrived. They consulted with Barris, then headed briskly into the forest, blaster rifles held ready across their chests. Personally, Eli doubted they would have any better luck finding the mysterious attacker than Barris's own troopers had. But he had to admit that the presence of the white-armored warriors brought a welcome boost to morale. Excuse me. Silver Metal Time, great question. Timeline. So, we are here. Thrawn takes place right after Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3. Before the Rebels TV series, before Rogue One, and before New Hope. So Thrawn is happening right after Revenge of the Sith. So Lord Vader has been created, right? And then we've got a few books, 1, 2, 3 books, and then the Thrawn book. So that's a great question. Yeah, that's where we are in the timeline. They're right there, folks. Bring it right there. Awesome. Yeah, I really like all those Star Wars books. They have the timeline and all the books here. Again, these are all the books that are canon now. All the books that were released before Disney took over were relegated to the Legends line. So it's like, not official canon, but this is canon as far as we're concerned. Book of Nerds back, painting minis and watching streams. Oh, nice. Thanks, Book of Nerds. Okay. What are we at here? Oh, okay. He was taking apart the last crate to look for more marker coins when he heard a soft but pervasive screech erupt from somewhere outside the hut, followed instantly by shouts and curses. A general alert? Snatching out his comlink, he keyed it on. And just as he keyed it off, holding... I had a feeling that was going to happen. Okay, there it is. Team Dead camera, folks. And just as quickly he keyed it off, holding it as far away from himself as he could, as the screech from outside exploded in his ears. Someone was jamming their comlinks. Full alert! He heard Barris bellow from across the clearing. All troopers, full alert! Major Wyan, where are you? Eli hurried around the side of the hut, nearly getting bowled over by a Navy trooper heading toward the perimeter. The woman's face was ashy under her heavy black helmet, her expression grim, her uniform splattered with dust. Eli came within sight of Barris just as Wyan reached him. All comlink channels are out, sir, Wyan reported. I know, Barris snarled. Enough is enough. There are 18 stormtroopers beating the bushes out there. Send some Navy troopers to recall them. We're pulling out. We're leaving, sir? You have an objection? No, sir, but what about that? Wyan jerked a thumb at the hut. The protocols require us to study it. Barris glared at the hut for a couple of seconds. Then his face cleared. But they don't require us to study But they don't require us to study it here, he said. We'll take it with us. Wyan's jaw dropped. To the strike fast? Why not? Barris said, as if still thinking it through. There's plenty of room in the transport for all of it. Tell the techs to break out the heavy repulsor lifts and get busy. Wyan threw a considerably less than enthusiastic look at the settlement. Yes, sir. And tell them to move it, Barris called after Wyan and the major hurried away. The only reason to jam our comlinks is if he's getting ready to launch a major attack. Eli pressed himself close to the hut, but as he looked around the edge of the forest, he couldn't see any lurking enemies out there. But then, none of them ever had. 3 minutes later, a squad of grim-faced troopers and techs arrived at the encampment and began attaching repulsor lift hoists to the generators and storage crates. One of the techs stayed with Eli as the others began transferring their prizes to the transport, the two of them studying the hut's exterior and figuring out where to attach the hoists in order to keep the building intact. They were still discussing the procedure when the first of the stormtroopers began to reemerge from the forest in response to Barris's orders. The jamming continued as the rest of the troops filtered into the encampment, turning to face the forest and in defensive formation for the attack they all knew was coming. Only it didn't. Barris's stipulated half hour ended with the encampment packed aboard the transport, leaving the entire group ready to leave. Except for one small hitch, one of the 18 stormtroopers was missing. What do you mean missing? Barris demanded in a voice that carried across the entire clearing as 3 of the stormtroopers headed purposefully into the forest again. How does a stormtrooper go missing? I don't know, sir, Wyan said, looking around. But you're right. The sooner we get out of here, the better. Damn right I'm right, Barris said. That's it, Major. Get the techs aboard the transport with your troopers following in standard rearguard formation. What about the stormtroopers? Wyan asked. They've got their own troop carrier, Barris said. They can stay behind and beat the bushes to their heart's content. We'll leave as soon as everyone is on board. Eli didn't wait to hear more. Barris's order hadn't specifically mentioned him, but he was more tech than trooper. Close enough. He turned towards the transport and paused. One of the stormtroopers was standing rigid guard just outside the hatchway, his weapon held ready across his chest. If he took exception to Barris's order abandoning him and his companions, without twitch or warning, the stormtrooper abruptly dissolved in a violent explosion. Eli was flat on the ground in an instant. Alert! He heard someone shout, the voice distorted by the ringing in his ears. A handful of troopers were charging toward the forest, but Eli couldn't tell if they were an actual trail or just hoping to randomly catch their attacker. He looked back at the transport, his breath caught in his throat. The smoke of the explosion was clearing away, revealing that the ship itself had sustained only minor damage. Mostly cosmetic, nothing that should interfere with flight operation or hull integrity. The stormtrooper's armor, no longer pristine white, was scattered in bits and pieces in a small radius around the spot where the man had been standing. The armor was all there. The body itself was gone. No, Eli heard himself mutter under his breath. It was impossible. A blast that caused so little damage to the ship behind it couldn't possibly have disintegrated a body so completely. Especially not without doing the same to the armor that had encased it. A movement to his left caught his eye. Emerging into the clearing were the 3 stormtroopers who'd gone to look for their missing comrade. They had indeed found him, or at least what was left of him. Okay. Book of Nerds is working on a robot. Nice. Always good to see John working on his minis. If you've never seen John's minis painted, check out his Instagram. That's how I was introduced to his amazing painting skills. John, looking forward to seeing what you're finishing there, friend. Okay, we've got a couple more pages, then we're going to go raid Amanda. This is Star Wars Thrawn from Timothy Zahn. Eli had half expected the transport and troop carrier would be attacked as they lifted into the sky, but no missiles, laser pulses, or catapulted grenades followed them up. Soon, to his relief, they were safe in the strike-fast hangar bay. Captain Park was waiting beside the transport's hatch as the men filed out. "Colonel," he said, nodding gravely as Barris emerged behind Eli, I don't recall giving you permission to leave your position. No, sir, you didn't, Barris said, and Eli had no trouble hearing the wariness in his voice. But I was the commander on the scene. I did what I deemed best. Yes, Park murmured. Eli looked back over his shoulder to see the captain shift his gaze from Barris to the transport itself. I'm told you brought the alien settlement up with you. Yes, sir, Barris said. Everything that was there, right down to the dirt. I can put the techs back to work on it whenever you want. There's no hurry, Bark said. You'll accompany me back to my office. Everyone else is to report for debriefing. He turned to face the line of techs and Navy troopers, and his eyes fell on Eli. Quickly, Eli twisted his head back around. Eavesdropping on officers was very bad form. Hopefully Park hadn't noticed. Unfortunately, he had. Cadet Vanto? Bracing himself, Eli stopped and turned around. Yes, sir? You'll accompany me as well, Park said. Come. With Park in the lead, they left the hangar. But to Eli's surprise, they didn't go to the captain's office. Instead, Park led the way up to the hangar bay control tower, the lights of which had been inexplicably darkened. Sir? Barris asked as Park stepped to the observation window. An experiment, Colonel. Park gestured to the man at the control board. Everyone out? Good. Dim the lights in the bay. Barris stepped to Park's side as the lights outside the observation window faded to nighttime levels. Cautiously, trying to stay as inconspicuous as possible while still getting a good look, Eli eased to a spot just behind Park on his other side. The transport and troop carrier were prominently visible directly below. Beyond them, at the other end of the bay, were 3 Zeta-class shuttles and a Harbinger courier ship. What sort of experiment? Barris asked. The testing of a theory, Park said. Make yourself comfortable, Colonel. Cadet. We may be here a while. They'd been there nearly 2 hours when a shadowy, human-shaped figure emerged stealthily from the transport. Silently, it slipped across the darkened hangar bay toward the other ships, taking advantage of the sparse cover along the way. Who is that? Barris asked, leaning a little closer to the transparistile divider. Unless I'm mistaken, that's the source of your troubles down on the surface, Park said with obvious satisfaction. I believe that's the castaway whose home you invaded. Eli blinked, frowned. One man? One man? Barris apparently didn't believe it either. That's impossible, sir, he protested. Those attacks couldn't have been the work of a single person. He must have had some help. Well, we'll wait a moment and see if anyone joins him, Park said. No one did. The shadowy figure moved across the floor to the other ships, where it paused for a moment as if considering. Then, deliberately, it stepped to the door of the middle Zeta shuttle and slipped inside. It appears he was indeed alone, Park said, pulling out his comlink. He's in the middle Zeta. All weapons unstunned. I want him alive and unharmed. Get some water here. William Wolf is back. Thank you, Will, for hanging out. This week was insane, so I wasn't on Wednesday. I'll be on tonight. Oh, Everdell again. Nice. All right. That's another. Folks, follow Silver Metal Tavern. Amazing board game streams as well. Okay, going to get back to the book here. After all the trouble the castaway had created on the planet's surface, Eli had expected him to put up a terrific fight against his captors. To his surprise, he apparently surrendered to the stormtroopers without any resistance at all. Perhaps he was taken by surprise. More likely, he knew when resistance was futile. At least Eli understood now why Park wanted him along. The prisoner's cargo crates were labeled with a Cybisti variant. If he spoke the language itself, and if it was the only language he spoke, the Imperials would need a translator. Their group was halfway to the hatchway where Park, Barris, Eli, and their stormtrooper escort waited when the hangar bay lights came back up. The prisoner, as Eli had already noted, was of human shape and dimensions. But there the resemblance to normal humans ended. His skin was blue, his eyes a glowing red, and his hair a shimmering blue-black. Eli stiffened. Back on Lysatra, there were myths about beings like that. Proud, deadly warriors that the stories named Chiss. With an effort, he tore his eyes away from the face and his mind away from the old myths. The prisoner was dressed in what appeared to be skins and furs, apparently sewn together from the indigenous animals of the forest where he'd been living. Even marching in the center of a rectangle of armed stormtroopers, he had an air of almost regal confidence about him. Confidence. That was definitely part of the stories. The stormtroopers brought him to within a few meters of Park and nudged him to a halt. "Welcome aboard the Venator Star Destroyer Strikefast," the captain said. "Do you speak Basic?" For a moment, the alien seemed to be studying him. "Or would Cybisti be better?" Eli added in that language. Barris threw a glare at him, and Eli winced. Again, stupid. He should have waited for orders. The prisoner, too, was gazing at him, though his expression seemed more thoughtful than angry. Captain Park, for his part, only had eyes for the prisoner. "You asked him whether he spoke Cybisti, I assume." "Yes, sir," Eli said. "My apologies, Captain. I just thought the stories all say that the Chiss use Cybisti in their..." "The what?" Parks asked. "The Chiss," Eli said, feeling his face warming. "They're well, they've always been thought of a wild space myth." "Have they now?" Parks said, eyeing the prisoner. "It would appear they're a bit more substantial than that." "But I interrupted. You were saying?" "Just that in the stories the Chiss use by Cybisti in their dealings with us." "As you also use that language with us," the prisoner said calmly in Cybisti. Eli twitched. The prisoner had answered in Cybisti, but he'd responded to a comment that Eli had made in Basic. "Do you understand Basic?" he asked in Cybisti. "I understand some," the Chiss answered in the same language, "but I'm more comfortable with this one." Eli nodded. "He says he understands some Basic, but is more comfortable with Cybisti." "I see," Park said. "Very well. I'm Captain Park, commander of the ship. What's your name?" Eli opened his mouth to translate. "No." Park stopped him with an upraised hand. "You can translate his answers, but I want to see how much Basic he understands. Your name, please." For a moment, the Chiss was silent, his gaze drifting around the hangar bay. Not like a primitive overwhelmed by the size and magnificence of the place, Eli thought, but like another military man sizing up his enemy's strengths and weaknesses. "Mithra Rudo," he said, bringing his glowing eyes back to Park. But I believe it would be easier for you to call me Thrawn." Okay, friends, that is the Force. That is chapter 1 of Thrawn by Timothy Zahn. Hope you all enjoyed that. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. I know this is a little different than what I usually do here, but again, I said this at the beginning of the stream. I want to read more, and I think it's sort of cool to hang out with y'all while I read. And I'm a Star Wars geek too, as you can tell. I'm gonna take this off. It's super hot here. But yeah, as a Star Wars fan, just loving it. Stockfish says, "Just let me know when the audiobook is coming out. If there's anyone out there, I am available for hire." Let's check his comment of the week. Was it say? Okay, cool. Thanks, Grift. I appreciate it. Yeah. So, folks, go watch The Mandalorian if you have Disney Plus. I want to do another. Next week, I'm going to continue Star Wars Thrawn. I think, is it Christmas next year? I'm not going to stream on Christmas, but I'll put it up on the socials the next time I do some reading. I'm not going to continue. I did a brief bit of Star Wars: The High Republic, A Test of Courage. I won't be continuing. That was just a little sample. Please check that out if you can. Excuse me. Now, also, I'm going to see if I can do this right. Whoops. If you're so inclined, please, I have a Patreon. I really appreciate the support, all of your support for hanging out here. And if you're so inclined, if your budget allows it to, I'd appreciate the support on Patreon as well. I'm gearing up, so I've been sort of trying to slow things down this month, not stream as much because I starting on New Year's Eve, actually, going to be doing a lot of streaming into the new year. So the Brothers Murph had talked about on their stream the other day. We are doing another event. The official announcement is going to be on Monday, but we are doing a New Year's Eve event again, sort of like our last one where we did the Tabletop Live Network. So there's a bunch of streamers and we raid each other. Last time it was 12 hours straight. This time, 18 hours straight. We've got a couple of new streamers. They will be announced on Monday. So we're doing 9 channels that are going to raid each other throughout the day. New Year's Eve. We're going to be able to celebrate New Year's Eve throughout the day. Different time zones, right? I got a new follower, Introvert Mo. Thank you for following. Just give me a second here. Where is that thing? Here it is. Introvert Mo, thank you for following. If you've never been here on the channel before, my name's Ruel Gaviola. Normally I play board games. Tonight was a Ruel Reads night where I, just read something. But whenever we have a new follower, we do analog alerts here. So this is Felicia the Follow Fish. Felicia comes by anytime we have a new follower, and then she leaves. Her work is done. And as we all say together in chat, bye, Felicia. Thanks, Introvert Mode. Appreciate you following. Much appreciated. Yeah, there's all the bye Felicias. Love it. Thank you, Tommy Miller. Thank you so much. All the bye Felicias. That always cracks me up, friends. So next time we get together for this Ruel Reads, I will continue Thrawn Chapter 2, and I want to talk about The Mandalorian. Now, you're going to have plenty of time to watch it before then. Please, let's talk about it, because, I mean, this last final episode, lots to talk about, and the entire series as well. We'll talk about Mandalorian, we'll hang out, we'll do stream snacks, all the good stuff. I'm going to be back tomorrow, though. Tomorrow at 7 p.m., Michelle and I are doing another different type of stream. We're going to be doing another grub and game night. We're calling it Meeple Munchies. Michelle and I are going to sample a bunch of snacks, let you know how they are and what our opinions are and how they taste. And then we're going to play a game. Spoiler alert, we're going to play Sushi Roll, the Sushi Go dice game. But we're going to be sampling some cool little snacks. We may also be making one of those snacks tomorrow. So come back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific, folks. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's see. Tommy Miller says, with the Bye Felicia, has anyone sent you the game? There's a game called Bye Felicia? Really? I have not heard of that game, Tommy. Oh, wow. Silver Metal, I have to mute you now. LOL. I've never heard of that game. I would love to check it out. It's at Target? Really? Okay. Is it good? Is it any good? It sounds silly, but that's my jam, too. So tomorrow, 7 p.m. I'm also going to be, I'm doing another stream. Tomorrow, 11 a.m., I'll be hanging out with Kawaii Plays. They're doing a tabletop and tea time. They're going to be doing, they've done this really cool thing where they set up, do tea recommendations. They have a list of games and then suggested teas. I'm going to play games with them, drink tea. That's over at Kawaii Plays. Kawaii, Kawaii. JU for short for Julie, and then Plays. She's on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, I believe. She is Geeky Board Gamer on Instagram, though. But okay, cool. Thanks, Stackfish. I'll check that out. Let me click on that link so it'll open up for later. So we're gonna raid Amanda now, folks. Stick around for the raid. Again, thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it. Been really fun just hanging out, chilling, and reading a book. Read more. Reading is fundamental, right? And let me get the raid ready here. Where is that raid button? There it is. Okay. So that's it for now. Hang out for the raid. Thank you, folks. Be safe. And I'll see you tomorrow. All right? Join me and Michelle tomorrow. We're going to eat. It's almost like the Gaviola date night, right? But hang out. It's going to be fun. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Bye.